Welcome back to the channel. One thing that I want to do with my channel is discuss not only the hot topics of Halo lore, the Endless, Covenant War, Banished, but also the more unknown or neglected aspects of the lore. One such thing is the UNSC Army and Air Force, which was featured prominently in just a single game and hasn't received much more since then. However, with the 2022 release of the Halo Encyclopedia, we have received more lore for the both of them. So you already know to like and subscribe to, appease those algorithm gods. I'm just skipping the written stuff. I'm just gonna get into it because I want to do this. I'm excited. I'm delaying it. Let's get into it. Warfare in Halo is a very simple thing in my opinion. Since the first battles of the Covenant War in 2525, the siege of the planet can be divided up into three phases: the Orbital War, the Ground Campaign, and Evacuation. The first phase, the Orbital phase, is waged by the UNSC Navy, and it has to protect and drive back an assaulting force by holding key strategic points above whatever world is being protected. Not only are they major targets for, let's say, the Covenant, but they also enable the UNSC to continue the fight indefinitely. As long as a single orbital bastion remains, the Covenant would not be able to land wherever they want whenever they wanted. Furthermore, the deployment of Marines and ODSTs would continuously hamper them down, limiting their ability to conduct operations while simultaneously allowing Supermax to strike down ships from orbit. Often the Navy will be totally overwhelmed and destroyed first thing, both due to its strategic importance and humanity's less advanced technology. Oh, and also, a total lack of experience in space, but I digress. The encyclopedia can take the stage from here. Once a superior enemy has breached the orbital plane, all that remains is a test of resolve through the denial of strategic footholds and leverage points across the air, land, and sea. Enter the Air Force and Army, UNSC branches committed to persuading the enemy that retreat is the only viable option. So let's start with the Army. While the Marines may get all the attention in the games and lore, and the Spartans and ODSTs even more so, the Army is easily the most important branch for maintaining control of the UNSC's territory. In fact, it provides the majority of soldiers who will fight in ground campaigns. The Army also performs a number of other roles. It provides valuable manpower to public works, such as infrastructure or the engineering of new technologies and more. Of course, this is, not done in the best intents. It is all done to facilitate future UNSC operations in the region that the Army is operating in, should the need arise. That was just a little side note, but stopping before I get into a tangent. Before the Covenant War, the Army was somewhat all over the place. Units often found themselves under the command of a local planetary post known as Army Component Command. Basically, just a better equipped colonial militia, better trained. However, as the war dragged on, most of the ACCs were dismantled, usually due to the loss of a planet. The surviving forces were then reorganized and their command structures were managed by sector working groups on Reach and, now Earth. The Army is currently organized under the Unified Ground Command system. Of course, there is more to the Army than just your average foot soldier or tanker or, is it combat engineer? I completely forgot. Much like the US Army in real life, the UNSC Army maintains an elite group of Rangers. These Rangers specialize in long-range reconnaissance and counterinsurgency operations. Rangers are often stationed near where they are from, as there is nobody who can wage a defensive war better than a very elite local. In fact, Spartan fire teams meant to defend human settlements from banished raids and criminal enterprises will often rely on the Army Rangers due to their advanced knowledge of the terrain. These Rangers are also so elite that Oni's Delta 6 Division recruited exclusively from a limited pool of Rangers prior to the advent of Spartans. The UNSC Army also has a group of military policemen to perform everything from traditional MP work to reconstruction oversight. These are the security forces. Most of the time, the security forces only come into play in the outer colonies. Interestingly, they are also tasked with monitoring megacorporations and their activity, serving as a body that is supposed to keep these private bodies in check. They don't do a good job. Then we have the Army Reserve. It is exactly that, a reserve called up when required. The Army Reservists are trained and equipped just like any other force, but their missions are strictly geared towards acting as support in garrisons. Reservists are part-time soldiers who undergo regular training to keep up their skill when needed. When needed, they are called up to serve. Otherwise, they live normal civilian lives. When things really go to hell on a planet, what do? You send the reservists to be integrated into, I don't know, planetary militias and Gendarmerie, just totally show that the operation's gone tits up. It isn't just the ground that the army operates on. Remember, the UNSC army oversees the defense of, an entire planet and is not just limited to land. As a result, the army maintains a specialized wet navy on planets with large bodies of water. Thank you 343 for finally addressing this. Like, seriously, I had made a video on it because it had been driving me nuts. Examples include the aircraft carriers on Earth or submarines on Reach. In some cases, these waterborne assets would be the last holdouts of UNSC resistance on a planet as invaders ignored the ocean in favor of cities, facilities, and other important pieces of infrastructure on the mainland. Little fun fact about the UNSC Army. Noble Team, the Spartans the game Halo Reach focuses on, were actually part of the UNSC Army Special Warfare Group 3. At the beginning of the game, Spec War Group 3 lost contact with one of its units, 3 Charlie. As a result, Noble Team was sent to find out what happened to them, and that kickstarted the events of the game. The UNSC Air Force is a unique part of the UNSC, mainly because it is surprisingly effective at dominating in its area. In fact, while the rest of the UNSC would achieve their objectives through blood-soaked victories, the Air Force, quote, excels at dragging their enemies down into the gravity well and close to the dirt where the UNSC has a home field advantage. The Air Force only has one job, and one job only: maintain aerospace superiority of UEG worlds. As such, it is well equipped for this task, making use of weapon satellites, drones, and, well, of course, crewed aircraft to do this. The smallest unit of the Air Force is a flight, consisting of 3 to 4 aircraft and, of course, their various support personnel. 2 to 6 flights make up a single squadron, which is supported by additional technical support and command elements. Groups and wings combine several squadrons and non-aircraft units to provide specialized services. The Air Force has a number of quick reaction squadrons on Earth and the majority of the inner colonies. These squadrons can be quickly deployed at a moment's notice and usually consist of atmospheric fighters and space planes. However, the bulk of the Air Force is made up of drones. Drones. Yep. These drones can be deployed in jaw-dropping numbers quicker than, say, a squadron of longswords because, automation costing us jobs. There's an existential crisis for you. I need to stop rambling this video. Of course, there are also many manned aircraft, multi-role longswords, broadsword fighters, and shortsword bombers all play vital roles in engaging an enemy force stationed in the air, on the ground, or in space. The Air Force will also coordinate with the Army. Many Air Force operations launch from Army-run aircraft carriers, vectoring in strikes from outside the enemy's sensor horizon. A little fun fact about the Air Force, by the way, that also shows how lethal it can be. The Air Force, it had a very extensive presence on the outer colony of Meridian, and of course, it naturally came to the planet's aid. Meridian would not only be one of the few planets that the UNSC contested for a long period of time, it held out for like 3 years. The Air Force played a vital role in the battle, though it was far from the only reason the planet held for so long. Ultimately, though, Meridian, got glassed. Like most of the other outer colonies. They really should have glassed Gao too. Like, screw Gao. Screw Gao. Why didn't they take care of that one anyways? But that's a tangent for another day. And that was the video. I know this was a short one and a rambly one, and that's mainly because I have larger ones in the works that are taking up my time, and I wanted to have a little fun with this one. So yeah. A big thank you to Salvatore Di Pietro for being a member of Oni Section 2 on Patreon. Hope you're enjoying your mug, buddy. Let me know how that's going. That said, I'll talk to you all on Discord and Patreon, of course. See you in the cosmos, friends.